Jesse's a little busy, so he can't quickly turn around the fact that I'm pretty sure you said that Jordan Love's going to the Pro Bowl, but we'll see. We'll see what happens.
I'm just getting ready to tweet something that's eerily similar to that, so it could be. I didn't say it. I'm not saying it though. Just so you know.
You're beautiful. You are beautiful.
Hey, quick grammatical question. If
Sure.
you say skis, is it S-K-I-I-S or S-K-I-S?
No, just one. Just one S.
Okay.
Just
Thank you.
For those of you who
Told
are
ya.
if you
He didn't believe me.
Well, Jesse, in fairness, believing you probably is not always the default setting for most, especially during trivia. Here's the deal. And I can't scold or tell people not to get out over their skis too harshly, because I did say on Green Bay game night last night that if they can steal either Thursday's game or the Chiefs at home, which, look, do I expect them to win either of those games? No, I do not. But maybe Taylor
You didn't
Swift.
expect them to win yesterday either.
I think I picked them to win on the pregame show. But if Taylor Swift breaks up with Travis Kelce and the Chiefs come in and play like garbage and they find a way to win that, or something crazy happens on Thursday, I said that look out, because based on their schedule after that and based on where the standings are, and this was before the Vikings lost last night, the playoffs are not as far gone of a possibility as I thought they were going to be. And I brought up the year before you arrived in the NFL when they were crummy. That 99 team was horrible. Favre broke his thumb. They started 3-1, and then they were 7-8 going into the last game. Now, my memory failed me a little bit. I know that one of the games they needed to go their way did not, and that's why they missed the playoffs. But they were 7-8 going into the final game on January 2nd, 2000, against the Arizona Cardinals in Lambeau Field. And we know what those Arizona Cardinals games at Lambeau Field in December and January could be. And they went out and won, but they needed like a point differential advantage with the Panthers and like 3 other games to go their way, but they were still mathematically alive for the playoffs, and they needed one more thing to go their way, and it didn't. Now, that said, here are the standings in the NFC. Philly, Detroit, San Francisco, and the New Orleans Saints are the 4 division leaders. The Dallas Cowboys, the Seattle Seahawks, and the Minnesota Vikings are the 3 wild cards. Dallas 7-3, Seattle 6-4, Minnesota 6-5. The next team is the Green Bay Packers at 4-6. They're a game and a half behind the Vikings, and they have a game against the Vikings on New Year's Eve.
They do.
In Minnesota.
Yep.
So when you look at this conference, and I have a wife and 2 daughters who are not going to like hearing this, but the playoffs are not out of the picture. They're still unlikely.
Why do they not want to?
Because they like having me around. They're not Packers fans. They're dad fans.
Do they like you? Well, I'm not going to get into that conversation again. So, in essence, what I've heard in the first segment and a half of this show, I'm not saying, but I'm not saying that Jordan Love is going to make the Pro Bowl this year. And you're not saying, but you're not saying that this team's going to make the playoffs. That's what I just heard.
I'm definitely not saying they're going to make the playoffs. I'm saying that it's not out of the realm of possibility.
But you're
which
saying, but
2
you're
weeks
not
ago,
saying, no,
we would have said there's no way in God's green earth before the Rams game they were going to the playoffs. We had all admitted they weren't, and now suddenly it's out there, Jerry.
You're saying, but you're not saying, is what I'm hearing.
I still do not think they will make the playoffs. I think there are more growing pains ahead. I think there are some games they're going to lose that right now, today, we think they will win because they're going to play like an inexperienced young team that screws up, just like the Chargers did yesterday. And there's going to be a game or two in that 5-game stretch where we're like, man, what's wrong with him? Yes, yeah. Austin Eckler looked very slow.
Is washed.
Yes.
Yeah, he's washed.
He looked slow. He had the fumble near the goal line. Not good. But again, we're not focusing on how the Chargers lost the game. We're focusing on how the Packers won.
My fantasy team focused on it, and it was not very disappointing in that regard.
All right, so what was your biggest positive of all the positives that there were yesterday?
Listen, I normally leave all that low-hanging fruit to little short guys like you and Jesse, where Jesse's reaching hard, he can't jump, and he's so
raspberries
I'm
on the
not
ground.
leaving it today. No, I'm going to grab all those berries. I'm going to harvest them up and get ready to boil them and make a nice spread over the Thanksgiving Day week. And it's Jordan Love. And I just, that's been the story all season. That will continue to be. And he played by far, not even close to his best game. He was dynamite. He was awesome yesterday. There's no debating his the word selection being
Congratulations on learning what that word means. Way to go. Yes, I agree with you.
No, that was, I thought, as important of a game for him and for his teammates, even though I think he had been kind of progressing in that point. He had taken some big steps backwards, and I think the team did too. And just like any other sporting event or college football, the Badgers, you could start off slow. You're going to have to fight through some stuff. Nothing is easy. When you're in a competitive world like this, things are going to be tough. How do you respond? And I think we all have to look at this and say number 10 has responded awesomely. Mm-hmm. And yesterday was the big crown jewel in that. So does that mean that Thursday is going to go swimmingly and we're going to expect I don't know. I certainly will say this. I feel much, much more confident and better about this matchup with the Detroit Lions than I did Amazon Prime Thursday night at Lambeau. That I know.
Fair.
Now, whether or not it goes that way, and by the way, I watched some of Jared Goff yesterday. He was Goff awful yesterday. Goffle.
Goffle is what you're
looking for. And they still
for,
found a way to win. I said Goffle.
You said Goff awful.
I tried to
first.
You did. Well, because I wanted to say God off, but I didn't want to use the Lord's name in advance, so I said Goffle. Okay, stick with me here. So Jordan Love is by far the biggest positive of yesterday's game. By far.
All right, Jesse, what's your positive low-hanging fruit guy?
Jaden Reed.
Yeah.
I actually thought that's what Tausch was going to say with the low-hanging fruit. That dude was amazing yesterday.
Like, he was amazing.
The play they drew up on the reverse that went for the touchdown, like that's a sign
Matty
of
Ice.
What could come. Tausch, I heard you singing his praise on the post-game show last night, Green Bay game night. Jaden Reed is amazing, and he continues to get better, it seems, every game, which is exactly what you want to see from a young player like him.
Yeah, I'm going to take lower-hanging fruit. I'm going to take the wide receiver group as a whole because they all contributed, right? I mean, you talked about Jaden Reed. He had a really good game. Dontavion Wicks continues 3 catches for 91 yards, all 3 of his receptions going for more than 25 yards, and he drew that knuckleheaded pass interference penalty on Asante Samuel Jr. as well. Romeo Doubs catches the touchdown. Christian Watson was MIA again for much of the game, but on the play that Matty Ice drew up in the dirt, he catches the tutter there. Malik Heath comes in, has his first NFL catch, and has some pretty darn good blocks during the course of that. Even Tucker Kraft, who we thought maybe was going to win the Steinhoffel Sleeper of the Week for Tausch.
He won.
Stepped out of bounds and did not get that touchdown after the hurdle, but he had his moment.
He still won.
He didn't win.
I thought that was all.
Well,
all the young
guys.
Look
at that on Wednesday.
All the young guys had a good day, and that is encouraging.
And my guy, who everybody was throwing to the Wolves, all of a sudden, his drafts aren't looking quite as bad, are they, Goot haters?
Oh, my God. Here we go.
Goot haters. Well, I'm just saying.
It's a week-to-week league. Would you stop?
It is. And you know what?
Ski guy.
And you know what? When it's a week-to-week league, you ride the wave of the week-to-week league. That's what you do.
Give us your negative before we take calls, would you please, Mr. Wave riding ski rider guy?
I don't know if I have a ton of
negatives. Of course you don't.
I just don't know if I do.
Team's so great. Super Bowl. Yeah.
I don't have a ton of...
Matt Coonan on Twitter. I feel like we're one segment away from Tausch saying Love may not be a Pro Bowler this season, but it's because the Packers went on an 11-game winning streak and Love is accepting the MVP at the Super Bowl.
All Well, crazier things have happened. Yeah,
Team's
I
hot,
think,
one in a row.
I wasn't sure. There's obviously negatives. I wasn't sure which way to go. Again, not wanting to know what the low-hanging fruit would be. Anders Carlson in this special teams group. You can't miss extra points. You can't give opportunities where at the end of that game, all of a sudden you needed to score a tutter instead of a field goal because you didn't make an extra point. Those are those little things that even though the Chargers threw you a bunch of bones, you can't give them back. And feels like Anders starting to worry a little bit about Anders. So that was my negative.
Jesse, what was yours?
I don't know what this injury situation is going to look like for the secondary the rest of the year, but the Chargers were like wide open in the secondary a bunch yesterday.
They were.
And if they don't have a bunch of drops and the Sun isn't the best defender for the Packers,
That's true.
the Chargers probably win this game by 2 scores. They gifted the Packers a number of opportunities yesterday. The secondary is an issue with all these guys banged up.
Yeah, if you look at what they were doing, their dime unit, they had 6 DBs. You know, I don't want to be Joe Barry. You know, when you go dime, that means there's 6 defensive backs on the field. Doesn't mean there's 10, like a dime is worth 10 cents. But
That's actually a good clarification. Thank you.
But if you look, of those 6 DBs, the only guy that would have been in the rotation originally was Keyshawn Nixon. The other 5 were not. And so when you look at that Jesse's right. That is a concern, but they got away with it yesterday. There's no doubt. And there were some good moments for the law firm of Ballantyne and Valentine, too. They both had good moments, too. They also got fortunate at other times. On the flip side of that, my negative is, and I guess in some ways it's a little bit of a positive negative because it could have been way worse, but I thought Aaron Jones was riding in a cart with a towel over his face, sobbing emotionally, and that was the last we're going to see of him at Lambeau Field until he went into the Packers Hall of Fame. I thought he had suffered a season-ending knee injury.
Much?
I thought he had suffered a season-ending knee injury, and that he might not be back next year regardless, but certainly not with a bad knee. And thankfully, it appears he dodged that major bullet. Now, I am always leery because I know a guy who went into surgery thinking he was just, what was it, just your MCL or just your
MCL and some little cartilage. Yeah.
And he woke up and he'd had his ACL repaired.
Well,
So that
not quite like that, but yeah.
I may be exaggerating slightly, but bottom line is, hopefully this is not one of those scenarios and it's just a minor thing. But the negative is they got A.J. Dillon and a running back to be named later. They got a guy named Merriweather on the practice squad, but Tausch, they're going to have to, maybe RG, we talked to him last week, maybe we want to give him a call because they're going to have to figure out what they're going to do at running back. They cannot put Jaden Reed as their other running back on Thursday. So that's
why
the
not?
negative.
Debo Samuel.
He had some good moments. I like him a lot, and I feel good about both him and Wicks and what they showed.
Hey,
all right,
Jason,
those are our.
We discussed this, and I know we got to go to about Fortria, but I want you to ponder this as we go to break. Who is the comp for Jaden Reed? Who is the comp that you're hoping Jaden Reed is? Because we had a good discussion on that. I want us to all have a good discussion on that. And I also want you guys to pick up a little extra spending cash during the holidays. And Fortria's got you covered. If you're looking for a little extra cash, a couple of studies, healthy adults ages 18 to 60, BMI of 18 to 32, 2 stays, 15 nights, and you can grab yourself almost $14,000 for your time and participation. Also healthy males and females, ages 18 to 55. Of course, females must be of non-childbearing potential. Body mass index of 18.5 to 32. 1 stay of 9 nights, you can grab yourself $4,055. Go to FortriaClinicalTrials.com. That's Fortria, Fortrea clinicaltrials.com.
We will get to your calls, 844-770-3776. If you want to be Pete Positivity, if you want to be Negative Nancy, whatever you want to be, the floor is yours. 844-770-3776, 844-770-3776. Your call's next. It's